IO simulator, that's the second one. And you'll notice there's a lot of animations and various sound effects. So what this has is basically a bunch of switches and a bunch of lights. So we're just going to start with the simplest of them. So you can take a damage that's closed, so you click and basically drag it in place. So it brings in an exam that's closed, and then you can have an output. And so it always puts the output on the far right, and you can say keyboard over here. Now in this case, this is just saying some generic button, but you have to tell it what it's going to represent. If you come over and click on the button you want it to represent, you can just drag that number over into it, and you're basically going to associate this button with this button. Same thing with the output, you can take and drop this one over there. And so this is basically the simplest program that you can have. In order to run it, you come over here, basically it's the PLC control panel. The way this works is you have to download it to the simulated control panel. You hit download. So the equivalent to actually interfacing with the PLC board. Now just note in the lab you're actually going to go and download it to a real one, and you actually get to control some stoplights and various other aspects. Then to run it, you just press run. Now it starts running and goes through. This one, can't say it's most exciting, but when I click this button, what do you think is going to happen? Light's going to turn on. So see if we did it right. So I click it, and the light turns on. So very exciting. All of this just so we can turn on the light on. Now, to go back, let's put examine and open in series with it. So we can basically, and we'll connect this to the next button down. So go back to the panel, download it, and run it. So same behavior, suppose this one light comes on. You notice that one's down, this one's up. So this can start to get a little confusing when this one is examined, it's open, but the switch over here looks like it's not engaged. And so it's basically not in that input, is one way to think about it. So if you engage this one, it turns the light out, and you would expect. So you can basically go down and play with different buttons and whatnot. Now, one nice thing is, notice over here, when it's reporting true, it will highlight it as yellow. And so it kind of gives you a little bit of feedback about, helps for debugging and finding out where is the error in code. So any questions on this simple example? So what we're going to do is we're actually going to implement the seatbelt example. Right there. We're going to say, so this one right here, it splits the rung, so you can have multiple spots. So I'm going to put in a few different ones. Just putting in all of the examples from the seatbelt we have there. So now we have to drop, and we're going to have the ignition over here. So we're going to call, so we'll just put them in the same order that we have, I think it was the seat. We're going to call this one seat. So we put it in both of the places where the seat shows up. Now, it
was like the other one.
Isn't that going to be just silly to do it that way? It would be really hard to do it. And the one, we want the one to be on the other two. Now, one thing to keep track of these, if you right click and say edit symbol, you can say, you can type it in and say this is a seat. And that's going to label all of them for you, so you don't have to type all of them. I would encourage you to label them with belts. And below that light. So if we go down and download it, and run it. So we go through the different cases. So in this case, it doesn't matter what we do because the ignition is not in there. So you can see that in either case, most of the top two are lit, but it doesn't matter because the ignition is not on. So we know that the AND is working with the ignition. So we turn on the ignition and we go to this case. So this is, you're sitting in it, but the belt is not engaged, so the alarm is going off. So then if you buckle your seatbelt, the alarm goes off. Now, if somehow you manage to leave the belt enabled and sneak out, it's going to complain and say, hey, start the car. Something's wrong. I have the belt engaged, you know I'm sitting there. The light comes back on. So, any questions on this one? So, if we come back over here, what we can actually do is we'll just have another run, and we're going to implement the motor example. So we can have, going to expand and open. This is going to represent the stop button. We're going to have that one be, come over to this side. We're going to bring in another run, or another flip. We can have this one comes in and output energized. This is going to be the motor. Stop is going to be this one. And then you can basically bring in another examine that floats. And you can just drag, now this isn't output, so you can drag it over here into there. So it's going to be reading that output. So now, done. So we run this. We have to download it, run it. Now we get is if we push the stop button, nothing happens. If we push the start button, the output is energized. But then if we disengage the start button, it's still running. Then if you hit the stop button, the whole thing stops. Now the nice thing is, if you're pushing the start button and you hit stop, the whole thing stops anyway. So you know the behavior. So it's going to be a guaranteed behavior. Any questions on that? So I know that regardless of what the state of the on button is, the start button, if I hit the stop button, it's going to stop. Even if I'm pushing the start and stop, it's going to stop. Any other questions on it? So admittedly, this one's a little not as interesting button or like button. It's something you've been doing your whole life. Now, something a little more fun is there's a door simulator. So, now we have a whole bunch of different things on here. So a couple things we have is we basically have these buttons. We have open, close, stop. So those are inputs. We have a jar open and shut. So those are lights. They're not connected to anything. You have to enable and then tell them how to do it. There's limit switches, and there's two motors. There's a motor for going up and a motor for going down. Now, there's very few things we can do. Part of what you'll be doing is implementing a simulation on this. So I'll show you some of the basics, but I'm not going to show you how all of them work. So if we come over to strategy then, so I'm just going to drag in, I'm going to make it very simple. So I want to have a system that can open and close. So I'm going to say this open button, and drag it over here onto that button. Rename this to open. Then I want to have an output. So let's take this and connect the motor up to that output. Seems pretty straightforward and basic. Push the button, it's going to go up. No problem, right? that seem like it should work? If I push that button, is the motor going to turn on and raise the garage door? Sure. Anyone get a problem with it?
Didn't connect the limit switch?
Do what?
Didn't connect the limit switch?
That's one problem. I didn't connect the limit switch. So let's see what happens. So I come over, and I push this open button. The motor's working. Uh-oh. Call the fire department. So what happened was it gets to the top, I keep the motor running, so it burns out the motor. So go with the suggestion. We want to go over and add a limit switch. I can't remember which one they. So I have to order wrong. So we add a limit switch to it. I'm not sure if it's the open. Again, it's supposed to open. We'll try and see if I got it right or wrong. Oh, so I'm backwards. So in this case, I'm using the wrong switch, so it's not activating that limit switch. So we need everything to open. Run it, download it, run it. So now recording this allowing me through, so I push the open button. Then when it gets open, the limit switch disables the motor, so even if I keep holding it open, it's not going to do anything. Then you can go back and you could do other things like on another run, you can say if you can have the limit switch be tied to the output of the limit switch. So it's going to have, and say, the output button is going to be open. So, okay, I didn't hunt it down, so, but anyway, so now that it's open, the limit switch is on, the garage door open. We go through an example of different buttons here and how we're doing various things. So, any questions on the basics of how this works? So, I showed you the